Right. All right. Okay. So. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope y'all are good. Some of y'all are probably going, wow, I'm getting notifications for this guy. This guy hasn't been on YouTube for a while. And you'd be right. I haven't been on YouTube for a while. And you might be wondering, where the heck has this guy been? Well, shit. I haven't been anywhere. I've been doing exactly what I've been doing. Basically just working on my house, man, doing some drywalling, putting up some tongue and groove planks for my walls, doing some siding. You know, the type of stuff that pretty much has you on your ass for the rest of the day when you're done with it. So I just haven't had the time or the energy really to be doing this. So, but I'm here right now, and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button because it's kind of random, willy nilly when I do go live. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I schedule it, sometimes I don't go live. Sometimes I don't schedule it and I do. So here I am. That being said, I kind of, I change with the winds when it comes to my channel. And, the past 2 months, really, I've kind of shifted gears with not putting so much content online. And I probably will be changing that. I've said this forever. Once my office and everything is set up where I can have a comfy space to record inside, I'm going to be doing that. But until then, I kind of been holding off. But I have been getting a lot of emails from people, and those emails have translated into people wanting one-on-one private calls to troubleshoot their problems. Some would call it counseling, some would call it therapy. Some people think those words are disparaging. Totally understand that. Basically, what I try to, as a person who's been in business my whole adult life, really, in various industries, I just try to listen to what people are telling me, the people who are listening, and the people who are listening have basically been telling me that they want a person who's going to listen to them and give them insight and help them with whatever travail or whatever problems they're having in their life. So that's what I offer. TheSoftSpokenShaman@gmail.com. If you'd like to chat, I don't know. You know how it goes. You always wonder why random people life, like you'll be in the line at the DMV and somebody will start opening up to you about their life story. And what's the reason for that? The reason for that is they don't know you and you don't know them. So the sense of shame about going to somebody that knows you in and out, that's gone. So sometimes people like that. You go to a person that you don't really know, or in my case, you listen to me online, and so you kind of know me, but you don't know me like that. I don't know you like that. So it's kind of a safe space, so to speak, for venting, and trying to get to the bottom of whatever problems you may have or whatever you're trying to break ground on. The calls that I've been doing really this past month have been very interesting. It's more people who, with these tariffs now, they're sensing there's some instability more than usual in the market. And so they're wondering, hey, man, I wonder if now's the time to pull the trigger, buy that land, start building the infrastructure, building the house. So I have something where, while everything's going to doo-doo, I might have a little bit of some shelter, some security, right? Some peace. So that's been enjoyable, talking to people about that, because that's actually a passion project of mine, having built 3 properties over the past 8 years, 2 from the ground up. That's something that I really do have a lot of knowledge and insight on. So I do like that when people hit me up and they're like, hey, man, I want to buy some land, or I bought the land. How do I get started? What do I do first? Do I have a crawl space foundation? Do I pour a concrete slab in a footer? What do I do? How does plumbing work? How does electrical work? What do I do for air conditioning or heat? These are things that a lot of people, they don't know, because they're not tradesmen or they never built before. So that's kind of what I'm spending a lot of my time on right now. Because a lot of people who have listened over the years since the pandemic began, when I started my channel, they've always known in the back of their head, man, I need to get prepared because who knows what's going to happen in the next couple years, or maybe even this year, who knows? And finally now, especially with the economy kind of being in a kind of like a slow motion free fall, people are finally starting to realize that maybe now is the time to get their butt in gear in terms of, setting yourself up so that you're not going to be in the bread line, with, the Stasi asking you for your papers. You might have a better situation, set yourself up for, when things are bad for everybody. You know, most people think of the term setting yourself up, meaning, like setting yourself up to take a fall, getting set up, to get murked or something. But no, you can set yourself up so you're sitting pretty. So that's kind of what I offer, is helping people, with their living situation, whether you want to go off grid, you want to build, where you want to build. That's something I know a lot about too. Man, you can look at all 50 states and there's pros and cons for each one. Certain states, there's a hell of a lot of pros, and there's other states where there's a hell of a lot of cons. If you were to ask me where you want to homestead, well, I'm probably going to tell you Arkansas, Missouri. That's probably what I'm going to tell you. Other people might tell you otherwise, but, most people who've been asking me that question of late, I told them Arkansas, Missouri. That's where you want to be. Maybe Kentucky, but I'd say Arkansas, Missouri. That's the spot. Oh, at any rate, that's the place. TheSoftSpokenShaman@gmail.com is the place to hit me up. If that's your jam, if that's the stuff you're interested in, that's what I'm interested in, so go figure. Anyways, that's not what this video is about, or this stream, rather. This stream is about something that's troubling that I've noticed lately, other people have noticed, and maybe you haven't, I don't know. Boomers living in their vehicles. Now, I'm not talking about boomers who are doing van life. I'm not talking about boomers who live in an RV. I'm talking about boomers who are living in their cars. This is a huge thing. And it seems like it's really picking up steam as of late. Now, I lived in California from 2013 to 2020, most of that time. And California's a little bit of a different story because, you've got all types of people, young people, middle-aged people, boomers living in their vehicles. And in California, you don't really know if they're living in their vehicle because they have to, because of, economic hard times, or perhaps they're living in their vehicle because they're, like a national park bum. They like to go from park to park to park. They like to drive around California because it's a natural wonderland. There's those types of people too. But we're not talking about California. We're talking about the rest of the country, where there's a higher prevalence of older people living in their vehicles, not out of choice. These aren't boondockers. These aren't people with RVs, with $200,000 Class A RVs. These are people who are living in their, Mitsubishi Raider, or people who are living in their Dodge Ram 1500, These are people who do not want to be living in their vehicle, and they're old, retirement age. And you can watch some videos on YouTube or TikTok even of these people, man, God bless them, trying to rationalize their situation or say, oh, it's great, I'm free as a bird, and you're like, bro, you're 70 years old. Your health is not good. Sleeping in a vehicle is not what you need. Now, you can say whatever you want about boomers, and I probably agree with you about that sentiment, but nobody wants to see anybody in pain, of course. Nobody really does, unless you're sadistic. But seeing these boomers in pain, it's kind of interesting to watch, because subconsciously in the boomer mind, they all thought that they would be able to borrow all this money and live the high life, and then they die before the SHIT hit the fan. And they figured, oh, our millennial children, our Gen Z grandchildren, our Gen A grandchildren, they're the ones who will have to pick up the pieces. They're the ones who get to act as the economic janitor for us, right? Well, the elites, or whatever you want to call them, had something different in their plans, which is for the boomers to have a nice storybook life where they start off with the baby boom, everything handed to them post-World War II, and then dying in the midst of a recession, going on possibly a depression. All I hear right now from boomers is because of these tariffs, oh, our 401ks are going down, our pensions are this. Well, what'd you expect? You've been living high on the hog, deep, doggy paddling in that gravy train for well nigh 6 or 7 decades. Be happy that you've only experienced a couple blips, the 80s stock market crash, Y2K, 2001 stock market crash, 2008 recession. It hasn't been that bad. Pandemic. If you're a boomer, most of the stuff, the only economic hit they took was in the late 80s. And so for many boomers, that's when they were already kind of in their late 30s. Many boomers did not experience great recessions or depressions in their 20s when they were starting out in the job market. That's reserved for millennials and Gen Z. Millennials, we got hit right. I remember 2007, 2008, right when I got in the so-called job market. Oh God, that's when the Great Recession hit. And then the pandemic, and then now, Zoomers are just starting to experience their first downturn as an adult, you know? So, as much as we don't want to see boomers in pain, I mean, they kind of deserve it. They really do deserve it. I mean, and the shell shock look on their face, like they don't understand why. Why is this happening to me? Why is it not happening to you? Why shouldn't it happen to you? It's happening to your progeny. It's happening to your grandchildren. I mean, it should happen to you too. You should get a taste of it. If everybody has to load up their calories eating poo-poo, then you should have to ingest a couple dingleberries too. I'm just saying, that's how it should be. So nobody really feels bad for boomers. This is what's going on. And again, this used to be just a California phenomenon. You'd see old people living in their vehicles in California because they were just kind of doing like the, extreme frugal cheapskate retirement plan. Great. You got wheels, you can retire, and you can change your scenery on a daily basis. Fine. But now, man, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Florida, Illinois, North Dakota, doesn't matter where you go, you're going to see old people living in their vehicles. And I don't care what they say on YouTube or TikTok, where they try to say, oh, we're strong, we're independent, we don't need no home in our old age. Come on, man. No matter how much they front on social media, I see them in the parking lots when I'm going about my business. They don't look happy. They don't look comfortable. Especially, I mean, so over in my area, there's a Lowe's, right? And in the Lowe's parking lot, there's an old boomer, and they're living in get this. Some of you who are younger, you might have to look this up. They're living in a Honda Del Sol. Now, a Honda Del Sol is from the 90s, and it is a very, very small two-seater. Very small. It's like a convertible, but not, And this person, this old woman, she's living in that shit. Now, I don't care how high on life you are. You're not going to tell me that you're enjoying that, living in a Honda Del Sol. Because think about it. It's one thing if you're young. Let's say you're on a road trip and you're in a two-seater and you got to sleep, in a non-reclining position. You got to sleep upright. Hey, that's okay. You can do that for a little bit. But when you're old, man, you need to recline. You need to recline. You need to sleep flat. You're not going to be sleeping upright. Because if you're old, you try to sleep upright, you're not getting no sleep. Guaranteed. So, I mean, I see this woman, man, and she's parked at Lowe's every day. And I feel so bad. I mean, you really do feel bad. I don't know anything about her life story. Perhaps she's the most horrible Karen boomer ever, or maybe she's an angel. I don't know. But, all I would say is, man, I don't even want to know her story because it would either pull on your heartstrings or it would make you feel hate. But I see her every day. And I go to that Lowe's, maybe every other day, every 3 days or whatever. And in the past couple months, there hasn't been one occurrence where I haven't seen her vehicle there with her in the vehicle. And I go, 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., sometimes 2 p.m. And I see her there all the time. And there's just no way you can paint this in a positive light. There's no way you can paint it in a positive light. You get some of these, social butterfly boomers on YouTube. They're like, oh, this is great. I can finally do the van life that I wanted to do when Woodstock was happening in the 60s and blah, blah, and my mommy and daddy wouldn't let me. And, or maybe they were born after that, they were like the youngest boomers. And they try to play it off like, oh, living in my car is great, even though I'm 75 and I need a new kneecap. Which one do you change first? Your kneecap, or maybe your car needs new hubcaps? Who knows? But they're trying to paint it like they're free as a bird and they're carefree and, blah, blah, blah. But check it. If you're a boomer and you're living in your vehicle not by choice, you don't have a 401k to dip into. You don't have any savings. You're living by the seat of your Huggies. You're living by the seat of your Depends diapers. Clearly. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this as time goes by. We're going to see a lot more elderly people in their vehicles, living in their vehicles. And that's going to get grimy, man, because when you get old and you maybe lose mobility or you get arthritis, you get osteoporosis, and you don't have the ability to clean your rig, the interior, every day or every other day, man, it's going to get grimy. It's going to smell. It's going to, all of the senses are going to be titillated when you get in that rig. It's going to be not good. And see, the thing is, with van life or living in your car, it's kind of like BO. You may be used to your BO, but that doesn't mean that you don't smell to other people. So when you're doing van life or when you're car camping, no matter what age you are, you may think that you don't need to clean the interior of your vehicle, but I guarantee you, if you ever have a guest in your vehicle, it is going to smell like ass. It is going to smell like ass mixed with Chef Boyardee raviolis that have been left in the sun to perish, plus a durian fruit and old socks. That's what your rig's going to smell like. Again, it's like BO. You might not think you smell, but everybody else can smell you, you know? It's not going to be good, man. It's not going to be good. And the thing about boomers living in their cars is they're socially unaware. You know, younger people, millennials, Gen Z, even Gen Xers who are doing van life or car camping, they know how to do it stealthy, where people don't see you, where, you can either camp out in the Walmart parking lot with all the other boondockers, or you'll find a place where nobody's going to bother you because nobody's going to detect you. Boomers don't have that skill, man. They're horrible. I mean, like this elderly woman living in her Honda del Sol in the Lowe's parking lot. I mean, it's like there's no survival skills present in her mind. Or maybe she's just completely given up. I don't know. But she parks under the light. You go into a parking lot, these are sodium lights. They're bright lights. Why the hell would you park under one of those? You want to park in the corner of the lot where it's at least a little bit dark. You can get, a little bit of darkness to sleep in, especially if you don't have sunshades on your windows. And that's the other thing too. I've seen her, I've been at that Lowe's at closing time at 10 p.m. She's in that vehicle sleeping. She has no sunshades. I mean, you want to talk about safety? That's dangerous, man. Like, especially if people know you're living in the car and you don't have sunshades, they can see you. I mean, there's some sadistic people out there. Somebody might come up to you and they might take a center punch and pop that glass out and attack you or rob you or whatever. You don't know. So I just see kind of like a lack of, awareness and staying alive skills, from these boomers who have to live in these shitty circumstances. I think we're going to see a lot more of it. And I think we're going to see a lot more people preying on these old boomers, who are living in their cars because they're sitting ducks. And I mean, all you got to do is go on TikTok and listen to millennials or Gen Z, berating boomers for their greed and all that stuff. I mean, they are not a well-liked generation. It's really funny to me how many boomers complain about Trump, like, oh, he's a bad president, he's a bad man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Trump is a mirror of all boomers. Trump is a mirror of conservative and liberal boomers. He is the ultimate boomer, right? And so boomers who complain about him, it's like, dude, it's pot calling the kettle black. It's like you're pointing at yourself in the mirror and telling that person to get lost. It's like you're pointing at yourself in the mirror and saying, get off my lawn, get out my house, you burglar. Well, you're pointing at you. So unless you're burglarizing your own house, stop pointing and yelling at yourself. The boomers are in for a rude awakening. I mean, as things get worse, as this economy gets even worse, and, we're not going to talk about the tariff situation because there's so many open-ended variables with that. Trump is a master at brinkmanship. So these tariffs may be a very short-lived thing. We don't know. Or it may be a long-term thing. We do not know. But regardless, I mean, things are going to get worse, especially for the elderly, because the elderly typically don't have that much earning potential because they're retired. They're living on a fixed income. Some of them do work. Some of them are savvy enough to learn how to work online or get into reselling or something like that. God bless them. But the average boomer, they are helpless when it comes to making money in this present day world in 2025 without a corporate job. They don't know how to do it. They're totally lost at sea. So I feel real bad for them, but at the same time, it's the world they built, and they not only made the bed, they built the bed, so they might as well sleep in it, you know, because this bed's going to be their coffin, apparently. So, you know, get down in the comment section when you watch the video, because I'm going to get out of here soon. Get down in the comment section and let me know if you've seen any boomers living in their cars or anything like that, or if you've noticed an uptick in this, because I certainly have. Anyways, thesoftspokenshaman@gmail.com is the way to get in touch with me, and I'll come at you later.